Hari Om, Namasarvebhyaha. Now we welcome you all for this Bhagavad Gita English session. Now I request our Aditi to chant Dhyana Shloka.
नमस्ते। ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तयेत्। ॐ श्रीकृष्णपरब्रह्मणे नमः। अथ ध्यानम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैर्रणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जनषट्पदैर्रहरहः प्येपीनमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमलप्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थितगद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Dhanyavada Aditi. Om Shri Krishna Atha Pratamo Dhyayagam Arjuna Vishada Yogagam Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Mamakah Pandavashriva Kimakurvata Sanjaya Manjari Bhagini Kripaya Shvikarotu.
Hari Om. Good evening, all. Welcome to Bhagavad Gita English session. So, last week we have started Jnana Yoga, that is fourth chapter, and we have seen that uh, Krishna tells Arjuna in the beginning of the fourth chapter that I taught this Karma Yoga, that is the third chapter, the importance of Karma Yoga we have seen. So Krishna tells Arjuna that I taught this Karma Yoga earlier to Surya and then Vivaswatu or Surya, and then he taught it to Manu, his son, and then Manu taught it to his son Ikshwaku. So now Arjuna is so surprised. Arjuna thinks that Krishna is my contemporary. He is standing right now in front of me and he is telling that he taught it to Surya. And Surya is such an ancient person. And how can Krishna teach these things to Surya? How can Krishna become a teacher to Surya? How is that possible? So Arjuna was so surprised and so shocked. And he was telling, Katham etad vijaniyam. How shall I understand this? You are telling that you taught it to Surya, and how shall I understand it, or how shall I believe it? So that way he asked, and then Krishna says that Bahuni me vetitani janmani tava charjuna. So we both have spent so many lives in the past. Tanyaham Veda Sarvani. I know all those past lives, but Natvam Vetta Parantapa. But hey Parantapa, you don't know all those things. So we have seen last week only I had told you that even though they were cousins, even though they were close friends, till now Krishna had not revealed that he is a Avatari Purusha and he is such a knowledgeable person. Arjuna thought that he was Krishna was his cousin and his close friend, and little more knowledgeable. Arjuna thought that Krishna being elder to me, and he's extraordinary little more knowledge he has. Arjuna thought that he may be like a teacher to me. So he said that uh, I am Shishyaste Shadimam Tvam Prapannam. So I completely surrender myself to you and I become your Shishya, and you tell me Nishchitam Bruhitanme what I should do. He has asked in the past, we have seen. So Arjuna thought that he can be a good teacher because he is having so much of knowledge. But Arjuna has no idea that this Krishna who is standing in front of him is God himself. He is Avatari Purusha. He is Vishnu's Avatara. So Arjuna had no idea. So now Krishna is introducing himself to Arjuna, his close friend and his cousin. So Krishna is telling who he is. So in Sankhya Yoga, Krishna gives us the knowledge of Atma, that is who I am, that is we all are. So who are we all? That we have seen in Sankhya Yoga, and here he says who is Avatari Purusha or who is Krishna himself. So he starts Bahuni me vetitani. I know all those things, the past lives, but you don't know, he says. And then he continues and he reveals about his life, his avatara, the purpose of his incarnation, when and why he takes this avatara, all those things he tells in this Jnana Yoga. Bhagini, can anyone read sixth shloka?
अस्तु महोदय।
Prabhakar.
ॐ श्रीकृष्णपरमात्मने नमः। अजोऽपि सन्नव्ययात्मा भूतानामीश्वरोऽपि सन् प्रकृतिं स्वामधिष्ठाय सम्भवाम्यात्ममायया।
Dhanyavad Mahodaya. So now he continues Ajopi, Ajaha api san, Avyayatma, then Bhutanam Ishwaraha api san, Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So he says that uh, I'm free from Ajaha, that is birth, and then of course birth means birth and death, and then Avyayatma, that is immutable, unchangeable. Bhutanam Ishwaraha means Lord of all the living beings. Bhuta means all the living beings. And then Prakritim Swam Adhishtaya, I subjugate my Prakriti. So having the Prakriti under my control uh, and manifest through Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. By my own Maya, I manifest or I take incarnation. I come down to this earth, he says. So we'll see the meanings of all these things. Ajaha api, even though I don't have birth or death, even though I'm beyond this cycle of birth and death, but he says, even though I'm immutable, even though I am the Lord of all these living beings, but I come on this earth. By my own Maya, I come on this earth. I take incarnation on this earth. So there is a lot of difference between Bhagavan coming down to this earth and we ordinary peoples coming to this earth. It is because he is Aja, and even though he took birth as a son of Vasudeva and Devaki, that was only for that Deha called as Krishna Deha. So that was a costume he was wearing, but otherwise he is Lord Vishnu and he was there before that also. And then Avyaya means immutable, which never changes, because the Deha, the bodies, uh, it changes, we all know. And then because deha changes, indriyas also change, and manas also changes, buddhi also changes. So for all this deha, manas, buddhi, indriyas, so all these are mutable, all these keep changing. But one who is the creator of all these things, one who is behind the creation of all these bodies and all these manas, deha, and all these things, he doesn't have any changes. He remains the same. He is born as a jnani, he is born as a siddhi purusha, he is born as a purna kama. There is no need for him to do some sadhana and then become a yogi, or then become a siddhi purusha, or then become a saint. No, for a avatari purusha, he is born as a jnani. Uh, because we have seen that Krishna in his childhood only, he has killed Putana, and he lifted Govardhanagiri, he did Kaliya Mardana. All these, when he did, he was very young. He was a baby when he killed Putana. So that means these people, they are born as jnanis, they know everything, born as Siddhi Purusha. That's why that is the difference between normal people and this avatari purusha. So Krishna is telling about the avatari purusha. So we will see the lakshanas of avatari purusha from this shloka. And then bhutanam ishwaraha, so he is the lord, he is the owner of all these living beings. So no one can go beyond his instructions. So all these living and non-living things on this earth, so all those things, they have got their own gunadharmas, their own qualities, according to his instruction, according to his direction. And all these things, for example, the fire burns, it is because of him. The wind blows, it is because of him. The day and night happens because of him. The death happens because of him. It is all goes according to his instruction, his direction. And all these things have got gunadharmas, that is quality. The agni has got the quality to burn, it is because of him. He has given that gunadharma to that particular material. And then he is the owner. And he, how he comes down, he says that prakritim sam adhishtaya. So like how we people come from first floor to ground floor, uh, uh, that is with voluntarily, with our own wish, we, when we feel like coming getting down, so what we do, we climb down. In the same way, Bhagavan also, whenever he wishes to come down, he takes the incarnation. It is volunteer, and it is very simple. But for sadharana jivi, for normal people like us, it is not our choice at all. So it is the gunas will drag us to the earth, or to birth or death. Nothing is in our hands. Everything happens according to our karmas, according to what we have done, papa punya we have done in the past life. So accordingly we will get the next life. And we'll have the next life or not, it's not in our hand. So we don't have choice. Whatever we have done, accordingly we'll be getting the next lives. But for a siddhi purusha or for a avatari purusha, it's not like that. He just climbs down to earth. And why he climbs down? It is because of vishwanukampa. He never comes to earth to have any benefit for himself. Always he comes to help others. Always he comes to do lokodhara. So that is the purpose of his incarnation. Mahodaya, agre patatu.
अस्तु महोदय
Two,
यदा
both the shlokas you read together. Next two.
यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहं परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्मसंस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे.
Dhanyavad Mahodaya. So here Krishna says that why the avatari purusha comes. So yada yada hi dharmasya, in 7th shloka he says when Bhagavan takes incarnation. And in the 8th shloka he says why he takes incarnation, the purpose of his incarnation, when and why Bhagavan comes on earth. So why he takes avatar on this earth, he is telling. So he says, Arjuna, yada yada hi dharmasya, whenever there is decline of righteousness and glanir bhavati bharata, rise of unrighteousness, and then abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham, I manifest myself. So he says that whenever there is decline of righteousness, and then whenever the adharma is becoming glorifying on this earth, then I take incarnation on this earth. And then he says that paritranaya sadhunam, so to protect the noble people, and vinashaya cha dushkritam, to eliminate the wicked or to destroy the wicked, dharma samsthapanarthaya, that is to establish dharma or righteousness, sambhavami yuge yuge, I manifest myself time to time, or every yuga, every era, he says. So he gives the reason, that is why he comes, that is when adharma becomes more and dharma declines, and then to protect good people and to destroy the cruel people, he takes incarnation on this earth. And so here he explains to his dear friend Arjuna the secret of his avatara. So he is telling everything to Arjuna. He is giving his self introduction to Arjuna. Arjuna all this time thought that Krishna is cousin and friend. So Krishna is showing his other face to him, and is explaining what is the meaning of avatara and what is the purpose of avatara, and when the avatara happens, and all those things. He is giving his self introduction to Arjuna. So we Hindus, we have a very strong belief that when God creates this Srishti, so he'll not just go away from it. He's always monitoring it. He always just watches how it goes, how the Srishti is going on. And then whenever adharma becomes more, then he comes down and he destroys those cruel people and establishes dharma. Unlike we have seen now these builders and all, what they do, they construct, they do some gated communities, they construct so many houses, and they give keys, they sell all the houses, and after all the houses are sold, so for few months they may be there, and then they ask the owners to make their own association and take care of all the grievances, and that builder goes to construct new, he takes up new project. But Bhagwan is not like that. He will be, whatever creation he has done, he will be monitoring it, always he'll be monitoring it. So like that it happens. And we have a belief in Hinduism, and similar beliefs are there in all the religions, because in Christianity or in Islamic dharma also, it is in Christianity, God himself will not come down, but he sends his son. So Jesus is said to be God's son, and he comes to earth and he shows the path of dharma to the people. Similarly, in Muhammadiya religion also, he sends on messenger, the God sends on messenger and asks him to do dharma samsthapana, and he is called as Muhammad, that is Duta. So whatever you call it, is a son or Duta or messenger, whatever it call, it is all Bhagavad Ansha. And in Hinduism, sometimes it is Duta like Hanuman, or sometimes it is sun, sometimes it is saints. But in our Hinduism, God himself comes, and Krishna Avatara is one such example of God's incarnation. And we are studying about Krishna Avatara now. So again, coming to the difference between the Avatari Purusha and the saints. We have so many saints, Maharshis, Rishis, Munis. So what is the difference between Avatari Purusha and these Munis? So in this earth, a normal person, any person in these Bhavajivis, they can do sadhana and become saints. Like how we have seen, Valmiki was a hunter and he turned out to be a robber, and then he turned out to be a murderer. But then after doing sadhana, rigorous sadhana for so many years, he turned out to be Maharshi. So like that, a normal human being also can become a Maharshi. But the difference is Avatari Purusha is a born Siddha Purusha. There is no need for Avatari Purusha to do any sadhana because he is born Siddhi Purusha. And the Siddhi Purusha, what he does, by his sadhana bala, he becomes mukta. And also, whatever people are there around him, he influences them and then he shows them the path. So it's like a normal grass, so it floats on water and it crosses the river, but it crosses alone. But a boat, it carries hundreds of people and it helps hundreds of people to cross the river. So a normal person, a normal human being helps himself and few more people around him. But Avatari Purusha helps thousands and lakhs of people to cross this Bhavasagara. That's the difference between Avatari Purusha and the normal Purusha. Normal Purusha, he becomes Siddhi Purusha, he becomes saint, he becomes Brahmarshi, Maharshi, Rushi, but still there is lot of difference between Bhagwan himself and these Rishi Munis. And whenever this Avatari Purusha comes, he brings a new thought in the spirituality. He brings something new which was not existing before. So there will be Sanatana Dharmas in that. But then also, for example, in Krishna Avatara, the very speciality of Krishna is giving the name to the karma. He elevated karma to karma yoga. Before Krishna also it was there, but people believed that to get moksha one has to follow the path of jnana yoga or bhakti yoga or dhyana yoga. So they believed that after karma yoga is to make chitta shuddhi, and then one has to follow the path of jnana. That is, they have to read Upanishads and all those things and think about Brahman and all those things, or bhakti yoga like how the ISKCON people do, or dhyana yoga, doing tapas, going to forest and doing tapas. So that was the belief. But Krishna says that no need, you can do your prescribed duty, and then also by doing your prescribed duty only you can attain moksha like how Janaka and all did. That's what Krishna, that is the very speciality of Krishna. Krishna says that no need to go to forest and do tapas, and no need to always do bhajan. So do your prescribed duty, but how you should do? Without nishkama karma, and do it with yajna drishti, and do it with Bhagavad Arpana Bhava. So if you do this much, so through Karma Yoga only you can get salvation. And that is the speciality of Krishna Avatara. So he gave the name Karma Yoga for the karma. That is, through karma also one can attain moksha, is the speciality of Krishna Avatara. And the purpose of this avatara is to start a flood of spirituality, pravaha, adhyatmika pravaha. So once it starts that pravaha, once that flood starts, then that continues for thousands and thousands of years. And in fact, that influence will not be much in his lifetime. Actually, during the Krishna's lifetime, very few people know his value. Like Bhishma knew that he is Avatari Purusha, and Vidura knew. So even Arjuna was not knowing. Yudhishthira may not be knowing. Many people were not knowing about his uh, incarnation or about him, about Krishna. But after him, it became so popular because this because of this Bhagavad Gita and so many other things, it became so popular. So for a Avatari Purusha to establish dharma, he has the equal courage to uproot the
Evil.
poisonous crops. Like how the farmer, what he does, once he sows the good seeds, and also he destroys the bad things, that is weeds or unwanted crops that grow around his crops, he has to destroy those things without any mercy. In the same way, Avatari Purusha, he should be not only able to sow the seeds of adhyatmikata, but also he should have the courage to just destroy all those unwanted things, unwanted adharma things without any mercy. And that is the nature of these Avatari Purushas. So their purpose of incarnation is to vinashaya cha dushkritam. So to punish, to destroy, to kill the cruel people. So they should be courageous enough to do all these things. And Sambhavami yuge yuge. So this saying, what has come from Krishna's mouth, so that belief, that strong belief that the God comes, that itself gives a strength to so many people. So whatever may come, whatever adversities come in life, but the belief that he comes, God comes, he protects, that gives so much of strength to so many devotees. That's how that's why Krishna says that Sambhavami yuge yuge, that gives abhaya to so many people, those who are in difficulties. Mahodaya agre pathatu.
अस्तु महोदय। जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन।
So next he says to Arjuna. So as I told you, he is giving his self introduction to Arjuna. So he says that one who knows my divine janma, that is my divine nature, and one who knows my divine karma, that is my actions, and tattvataha, in the true light. So one who knows the real purpose of my avatara, then what he does, tektva deham, after giving away this body, punarjanma na eti, he will not get punarjanma, or he will not reborn. And then what happens to him? Mameti saha Arjuna. So he gets me only, he merges with me only. So he attains me, he is never reborn. Who is never reborn? One who understands me, one who understands me in the true light, tattvataha, one who understands the purpose of Krishna's avatara. So he will never get the punarjanma, says Krishna. When if God comes as an avatara to the land, so what happens is that becomes a new path to attain moksha. So before Krishna's birth, so people may be worshipping maybe Vishnu or Rama or Narsimha, but after Krishna's incarnation, people started worshipping Krishna only. So it is like this Ganga river, it may be having so many ghats to take a dip, and in the same way, this Krishna avatara becomes a new ghat to take a dip. That is, once we get this avataras, so we just leave the earlier avataras and we start, because Krishna becomes more approachable, the recent avatars become more approachable, and people start showing devotion to the Krishna avatara. In this case, it is Krishna avatara. And what happens to this Avatari Purusha is the treasure of all Vedas and Vedantas and Upanishads. That's how Krishna is able to advise, teach Arjuna in the battlefield, because all these Vedas, Vedantas, Upanishads are within him, within Krishna only. That's why he is able to advise. That's why his Janma is so divine, his karma is divine. So a devotee need not have to do anything. What he has to do? He has to make this Avatari Purusha as a model person, role model, and then understand him yathartha, veti tattvataha, understand him as he is in the true light. And then if he does this, it is said that he will become mukta. That is, he will get salvation. And one who understands that the Krishna's Janma is pavitra, that is holy or sacred, and then his incarnation is for the upliftment of this world, uddhara, and then whatever he does, whatever Krishna does, everything is for loka sangha, loka kalyana. He doesn't do anything for himself, and everything he does for the benefit of others. This we have seen in Krishna Avatara. I have told you in my previous classes also what Krishna does. He kills Kamsa and makes Kamsa's father the king. He makes Bhima to kill Jarasandha and makes Jarasanda's son the king there. And he kills Shishupala and makes Shishupala's son the king. He helps, he involves himself in Mahabharata so much, 100% effort in Mahabharata Yuddha, and he makes Yudhishthira the king. So he never did it for his own benefit. He never wanted to become king. He never had a desire to sit on Simhasan. But then also he was involved 100%. He was we should not think that karmanyevadikaraste mafalechu kadachana. So it's so nice to hear from in the book, but it is impossible to perform. It is impossible to implement. It's not like that. If you see Krishna's life, he has done everything. He has shown, he, because mate sangos to akarmani, he says very clearly that you should not have the desire to get the fruit, isn't it? So don't worry about the result of your action. So one may think that when I don't have any attachment with the result, then why I should put effort? So if I don't want to get rank, then why I should work hard? No, mate sangostvi akarmani, you should never be attached to do akarma, he says. So whatever you do, you put your 100% effort, and then you should not be attached to the karma phala. And then we may say that how it is possible. But if we look at the life of Krishna, if we read Bhagavata, if we read Harivamsha, and about Krishna, if we read Mahabharata also, we will understand that how selfless he was. Even though he had no personal gains in any of the actions, he does it only to establish dharma. Everywhere he does it only to establish dharma. So what he says here is, we have to understand the sadhana of these avatari purushas, and that makes a huge difference on our lives. That is so influential, because uh, the modern psychology also believes that what we think, we will become that only. So if we think about good people, their sadhana, how they maintain their peace of mind even in the difficult times, how they were so calm. So if we can read those people's uh, life, and then if we are thinking about that, if we are doing manana repeatedly, if we are thinking about that, definitely those qualities will come to us. That's why he says that yo veti tattvataha, one who understands the reality of the divya janma and karma of the avatari purusha, then he will not get punarjanma. So mameti, he will merge with me, he says. Because uh, why he will not get punarjanma? Because his ajnana is already burnt, and his heart has become very pure, and then his desires are burnt into ashes. And why such a GV should come back here again? Who will get rebirth? A person who is having laukika asha, that is the materialistic desires. He he because he is attracted to these things, he has to come to this earth again. He is reborn. But if a person, all his desires are burnt, and if a person has got only Bhagwan in his heart, and then once when he ends this body, definitely he will never come back. It's like if we throw a stone, then what happens after some time? Definitely it comes down, because the earth has the gravitational force, so that stone comes down. But suppose the rocket, if it is thrown into the sky, into the space, with the speed of 18,000 miles, then what happens? It goes beyond the gravitational force, and then it just goes, it can detach itself from the gravitational force. In the same way, if a atma, it can detach itself from the attraction of these materialistic things, then it can become mukta atma. So that's how Krishna says that such a kind of atma, even when he is alive, he will be in God, and when he gives off his body, that time also he will merge with Bhagavan. So he says mameti, so he merges with me. One who always thinks about, that is, we can say that we can read this about Krishna, and also like some great saints, one who reads about their life and their books, like it may be Shankaracharya, it may be Ramanujacharya, it may be Madhvacharya, it may be Sri Raghavendra Swamiji or Buddha. So like the Siddhi Purushas. So one who reads and one who picks up those teachings and then one who implements those things. So for those people, so what happens? They will merge with God. And especially he's telling that with this Avatari Purusha, with this Krishna, he says that he's telling to Arjuna that one who knows me, Tatvataha, the true light of the true value of me, the true intention of my avatara, and how he performs all the actions. So all those things, one who can study, understand, and implement, so then he will not have rebirth, he will merge with Bhagavan, he says. Mahodaya, agre patatu.
अस्तु महोदय। वीतरागभयक्रोधाः मन्मया मामुपाश्रिताः बहवो ज्ञानतपसा भूता मद्भावमागताः।
धन्यवाद महोदय. So vitaraga bhaya krodha. So this those who rise above raga, that is attachment, bhaya fear, krodha is anger. So such people, manmaya. So manmaya means having mind in Bhagwan himself, and then that is absorbed by me, and then mam upashritaha, so one who take shelter in God. And like this bahavo jnana tapasa, many people, jnana tapasa, those who have done tapas called as jnana. So puta, one who have become pavitra, and madbhava magataha, so they are merged within me, madbhava magataha, they have become one with me, Krishna is telling. So what are the things that make us to come again and again, that make us to get stuck with this life or stuck with this cycle of birth and death? That is asakti, bhaya, and krodha. We can say that kama, krodha, and all those things. So the first is asakti, that is attachment. Raga is attachment to these materialistic things, worldly things, worldly affairs. So when a person he fixes his mind in Bhagavan, then he can uh, he can escape from this desire. Now we will say raga, that is attachment. How to get detached from worldly attachments? Fix the mind in Bhagavan. So then, to get the mind fixed in Bhagavan, then he has to lose attachment of worldly affairs. To get something, we should be ready to lose something. कुछ पाने के लिए कुछ खोना पड़ता है, they say in Hindi. So we cannot have both together. That is, I'm very attached to the worldly things, like it may be my own family, or it may be some money or wealth or gadgets or whatever. Then I cannot go towards God. So going towards God is a solo trip. How much ever I love my family, my children, my spouse, but I have to go alone there. So if I have too much of attachment, then it is impossible to go towards God. So only one thing at a time can happen. Either I can be with God or I can be with the worldly attachments. That's why there is a story, like 4 5 drunkards, that is they had drank this alcohol or whatever, and it was Purnima day, and then they thought that they will do nauka vihara, that is boating. And then they sat, and then they took that stick and then started rowing that. They're just pushing the water, and 3 4 hours they did that. They started sweating, but then also after some time they realized that the boat had not moved little bit also. And then they went and saw, they realized that the boat was not detached from the shore, the shore, seashore or river shore, no. So it will be tied there, it will be fixed to the bank. But they had not even uh, detach that from the seashore. or the bank of that, and then they started rafting that or rowing that, but it was not possible. The boat didn't move ahead at all. In the same way, if we are attached to worldly affairs, if we have raga, and how much ever we read Bhagavad Gita, how much ever we listen to Puranas, but if we are attached, if we are fixed from this side, then we cannot move little bit also in the path of spirituality. So to move or to travel towards God, so one after the other, we should make all these attachments, we should make them looser and looser, so that we will be moving towards God. That is raga, that is attachment to worldly people or worldly things, materials. And then next is bhaya. So that also is there. Bhaya is anything may happen anytime. So if we have too much of attachment, then the next step is bhaya. That is, if I'm attached to a person, then what happens? That person may be anybody. So then the fear of losing that person. First thing is possessiveness. So I should have that person with me always. No one should snatch him from me. And then the fear starts where I lose him. So all these things happen. So what happens to a thing that is very priya to me? It may be a gadget or it may be a person, and then always will be thinking. And what happens if something apriya comes, which I don't want really, and if it comes, like it may be a disease, it may be a difficulty, or it may be some disrepute. If it comes, then what happens? So always the fear of these things. So always we are between this priya and apriya, both of them cause fear within us. The priya, it will be threatening us, where I may leave you one day. The things that we are so attached, the fear of losing them. And the apriya, that also threatens us, that I will come and hug you sometime. That is, it may be disease or death or anything. So apriya also will be threatening us. Priya also will be threatening us. The priya will be threatening us that I may leave you anytime. Apriya may threaten us, I may come and attack you anytime. So always a person will be in fear of this, losing the priya and getting the apriya. Always. And this one, a person may be a rich person or a poor person or a scholar or an ordinary person. He may be a worker or a maid, a servant maid, or he may be a king. So whatever, this bhaya will be there. So if a person is having this kind of bhaya, then he cannot travel towards God. So the very essential quality to travel towards God is nirbhaya. So that is very, very essential. So a person who is traveling towards God, he will not care for such things. He will not care for losing any person, because the first thing is that asakti we have seen now in the previous raga. So he is detached from worldly things, so he doesn't have any fear. So they are all in sequence. So if we have raga, then the bhaya comes. If we have raga and bhaya, then krodha comes. So if a person is detached from all the worldly attachments, then he is not having any fear, because he is very tightly holding the hands of Bhagavan. So he is not having any fear. So that's why the second step is one should become nirbhaya. First thing is raga, he should, that is attachment. So he should slowly get detached from the worldly affairs. And second thing is he should become fearless. Only then he can go towards God. And the third thing is krodha. So a person, when he gets krodha, then he does the things which he should never do. And he doesn't know what he talks. He talks in the way that he should never talk. And then he never thinks that if I behave like this, what happens in future? He never, because he's actually, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's talking, because he's overpowered by anger. So then what happens? Why this krodha comes? Because again, he has this materialistic desires. And suppose something comes on the path, something obstacle comes on the path, then he gets anger. So to satisfy his materialistic desires, so he goes to an extent that he shouts and he talks the things which he should never do. So it is because he wants to satisfy his materialistic desires. So when there is no raga, when there is no bhaya, then definitely there is no krodha. So the Bhagavad Bhakta, because he is not having any raga, so what he thinks is, okay, let him give whatever he wants to give, let him snatch whatever he wants to snatch. So behind all these things, everything is God's business. So he has some plans. So nothing is in my hand. So he'll not jump when God gives. He will not suffer with pain when God snatches. So he thinks that everything is Daivecha. So both the times, in his adversities and in his good times, he thinks that it is God's wish. And he is the Sutradhara and we are Patradharis. So we are just roles or actors here. So he thinks that let God do whatever he wishes. So that is the quality of Bhagavad Bhakta. And then this Bhagavad Bhakta, his mind is always fixed on God. Like how if we take a sponge and then dip it in water, what happens? That sponge, each and every hole in that sponge absorbs water. The sponge becomes heavy because of water. In the same way, this Bhagavad Bhakta has absorbed through all the pores, he has absorbed Bhagavan. So Bhagavad Bhakta, everywhere in his body, there is Bhagavan. And always his mind is running towards Bhagavan. Whatever comes to his life, that is, it may be poverty, it may be difficulty, it may be disease, but he never asks that, oh God, just protect me from these things. No, he never asks. He thinks that all this poverty, disease, and everything I am getting because of my karma. So he never asks for that. He asks, oh God, just give me your samipya, give me your pada seva. That's enough for me. So always give me your samipya, and all these kashtas and all these things, they keep coming and going, and it comes according to my karma. So he never asks him to just protect me from this or bring me out of this adversity. He never asks. He because he ignores all those things, and he never takes those things serious, those adversities, but he always prays God that you give me shelter. And then for all of us, what is our shelter? That is, we think that our homes are our shelters. Suppose something comes, some difficulty or something comes chasing us, what we do? We run to our house. And what we do? We just preserve money for our old age. We make so many friends and we make a society around us. And we think that all these are shelters for us. But for Bhagavad Bhakta, for him, the shelter is only Bhagavan's padas. So he thinks that this is the only eternal place which can give shelter to me. All the other shelters are temporary. Only Ekamatra eternal shelter is God's padas. So that's what Bhagavad Bhakta thinks, that the permanent eternal shelter is Bhagavan's pada. So when the Bhakta believes so strongly in Bhagavan, then the Bhagavan himself teaches him what is this world and what is this jiva, what is bandhana, what is moksha, how all these things happen. All these things are taught by Bhagavan himself. That is called as Jnana Rupi Tapas. He says, no, Bahavaha Jnana Tapasaha Puta Madhava Magataha. So, once the Bhagavad Bhakta strongly believes that Bhagavan's padas are his eternal shelter, then Bhagavan teaches him all these things. And then, like how once the bhakta goes and falls on the feet of Bhagavan, so Bhagavan teaches him all these things without asking. Like how, suppose something is there near the fire, so that shakha comes to it. Even if you ask or not how the shakha comes, in the same way, suppose the bhakta is on Bhagavan's feet, so he gets everything, all the knowledge he gets. So that's what Krishna is telling here. So jnana tapasa madbhava magataha, they get merged with Bhagavan, says Krishna here. And then he continues in the next shlokas. So how he protects his devotees and all those things, we'll see next week. So dhanyavad. We'll do Parayana. Mangala Shloka and we'll do Parayana. Dhanyavad. Okay, Bhagini.